What if Tesla never comes up with a $35,000 Model 3 version? Would that be the end of the world? Would that cause some sort of uprising in the electric car community? Or would that be just kind of just perfectly okay and we'll forget about that ever happened? The reason I'm asking is quite a few people online noticed that the mentioning of the Model 3, the $35,000 version, have been completely removed from the US website for Tesla. Well, so what if it's not going to happen? Let's talk about it. What are the pros? What are the cons? I'm also going to take some of your comments and see what you guys think. All of this is coming up next. Taking over the world, electrifying the world, E4 Electric. Welcome to E4 Electric, your number one source of unbiased electric car news. Of course, if this is your first time here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button so you don't miss anything moving forward. Just want to give also a quick shout out to one of my newer Patreons, Juan Puscos. Thank you so much for joining my Patreon community, where it's the only place where you can watch all of these videos live. And I appreciate you and all of my Patreons for supporting my independent channel. If you want to join, of course, there is a link in the description of this video. Okay, let's talk about the Model 3 and the $35,000 version. As you know, the cheapest version right now is $42,000, which is getting there. Obviously, we started with something crazy, but now it's getting down to $42,000 version, and you can imagine if they don't have to put the panoramic roof on it, they don't have to put some of the features that that right now the $42,000 version have, and of course, if they don't have to put as many battery cells. I think it would be fair to say that they can probably get it down to $38,000 to $39,000 version right now. Now it does encourage me to think that if they can probably just do it right now at $38,000, $39,000, it's just a matter of time. Maybe it is still 4 or 6 months away, where they will come up with the $35,000 version. The question is this going to be good for the company and for the community if they decide just not to do it, or is it going to cause an issue? Of course, let me remind you that I believe something crazy like 3/4 of all Model 3s that were sold in 2018 were sold to people who were not reservation holders at all. So the reservation line of 400,000 people that are still in there, I'm assuming are all waiting for the $35,000 version. Now we don't know which ones are from US, which ones are from China and Europe, because those countries are only now getting this car. So we don't know how many of them are going to be reservation holders. But even with that, even if we go with the same number in Europe and China, we're still talking about 200,000-300,000 people waiting for the $35,000 version. Will they go for the $39,000 version? It's also a question of how soon they're going to get it. Is it going to be after, which it looks like it will be, after the US tax credit is going to be cut in half once again? Is it going to be before any other country or other states here in the United States or provinces in Canada are cutting down on their incentives for electric cars? So all of this is kind of a moving target. But I have to say that if this happens, if Tesla says, listen, I'm sorry, guys, we'll just end up at 39, let's say 38, because we still need to make profits. And, we absolutely must to make, whatever 20% margin. I actually think that nothing, it's really not going to go down that badly for Tesla. And let me tell you why, because this has happened before. For those of you who don't know, let me tell you what happened back in 2013, actually. Before that, of course, I want to remind you that this video and this channel is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Model 3 and all Teslas. There's a discount code in the description of this video if you want to save yourselves a few bucks as you are pimping up your ride, as they say. My ride is pimped out with a few of these accessories, and I enjoy them greatly. So go ahead and check that out in the description of this video. But let's talk about what happened back in 2013. As you know, originally, the Model S, and this is a screenshot that I got somewhere from online, as you can see, they used to have a 40 kilowatt hour version with 160-mile range. Now, yours truly was actually the original reservation holder for that model. The reason I ended up with the 85 kilowatt hour battery is because I wanted to get that car right away. there were also many reports in the first couple of years that a lot of Model S owners never owned a car that expensive. They actually, used to drive, Priuses and Honda Accords and so forth, and they never spent that much money in the car. But because they really fell in love with it, much like I did, we decided that the hell with it, we're just gonna go for it. It's totally worth it. So I am one of those people who reserved a 40 kilowatt hour version, ended up with 85 kilowatt version. Now, by the way, the 40 kilowatt hour version was only $49,000 at that time. But what happened? Tesla decided to discontinue, and here's the statement from their press release at that time. I believe it was April or May, so it was like next spring, which was 2013. They basically said the small battery option for the Model S will not enter production due to lack of demand. Only 4% of customers chose the 40 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is not enough to justify production of that version. Now, I call BS on that, because I think there are quite a few people who were driving Priuses before, and people like me who didn't want to spend, $80,000, $90,000 car, but wanted to have it right away, at least within the first year of production. We all wanted to have a cheaper version, because 160 miles, I still think it's perfectly fine. I think my battery degraded a little bit now. I have a regular 60, and I think it's officially like 172 miles right now, even though I don't charge it to 100%. But I still don't have a problem actually getting around and never running out of energy. So I just don't see how 4% was just the demand that they're talking about. I think it was much higher, but nevertheless, it was also an entry level. By the way, they did make, I think, few hundred of those 40 kilowatt hour, because people already put the deposit down and they didn't want to update. But what they did, they actually made a bunch of those as a 60 kilowatt hour battery cars, and just limited the battery, the range with the software. And then those people could pay, I think, about like 10 grand or whatever to upgrade to the actually 60 kilowatt hour. And some of them really did. Of course, all these little perks like acceleration and a few other things that came with the car originally, they kind of ended up as a gift. I think a 40 kilowatt hour version wasn't supposed to even get supercharging or at all. So they ended up with quite a few perks. But hey, Tesla easily got away from it. As a matter of fact, most of you probably hearing this for the first time, or it happened so many years ago you probably don't remember, and I'm just reminding you that it actually happened. Now, I know situation is different, because Model 3 is, people are, I think, more non-Tesla absolute fans are buying it. People just buying it because they want this car, not because they want to support the brand or they love Elon Musk and stuff like that. So I think the approach is going to be a little bit different. But I got to tell you guys, I think the overall, yeah, some people will be disappointed. I said, well, but there are quite a few people who have been disappointed with Tesla, especially because they promise something and they don't deliver it on time, or they just don't deliver it at all, or they deliver it and then take it away. And they're perfectly fine. There are plenty of people who are willing to say, you know what? To me, it's perfectly worth it, and I don't mind. There are, of course, people like me who are kind of saying, listen, I think I don't want to be treated like that. I'm going to move to a different brand and try something else out. But at the same time, I think that this is definitely something that I think Tesla can get away with. Let me know in the comment section. I'm quite interesting to see, especially if you don't own one right now. If you're a reservation holder, if you're holding out for a $35,000 version, what do you think will happen if Tesla says, I'm sorry, we will just go with a $39 version, and it is what it is, or we'll just stick around we'll stick with the $42,000 version? Do you think it will damage the brand? Because essentially it will just make sure that their profit margin will stay pretty healthy and probably will improve. So their stock will go up, and they won't be ever on the verge of bankruptcy or whatever other, scary stories people will tell about it. So yeah, let me know in the comment section. I'm kind of curious to know. But if you ask me, I think they can get away with it. I'm not saying that it won't happen, but I'm just saying if it will, I think they will be perfectly fine. All right, looking forward to that. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.